Ciao, buongiorno, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world and whatever time it is. Thank you very much for checking in and tuning in to what we hope will be the first of many successful editions of Inter Talks. So firstly, what is this and what is it all about? Let me bring it to you. My name is Anthony. I am from Inter, destroying clubs since 1908. You may have already been following our website online or checking us out on Facebook, on Twitter or Instagram, which is great. We've been able to get a lot of following, a lot of fans in the last 6 months to a year. And a huge shout out has to go to Samir, who is the founder of that page. He has spent many sleepless nights working hard on the site and on the page in order to get as many English-speaking and international Inter fans as involved as possible. The really exciting part is that we have joined together with Nima and the SempreInter team, the world's #1 English-speaking Inter brand, to bring you a brand new concept where we basically talk everything Inter and make it as interactive as possible for you guys, the fans, to showcase your voices and your opinions as well. We thought it would be the right time to showcase these kind of videos because after looking online for a while and been following the entire online vlog scene for football, we've realized that there isn't really an English-speaking Inter fan channel, and we thought it's about time that fans, English-speaking Inter fans, have their opportunity to speak and communicate with each other on an interactive online platform. So we will be able to bring you guys match reviews, match previews, all kinds of transfer news and talks with some conversations going on as well. And, you know, we'll probably get a few Skype callers in at one point, the more that the show develops. The show will be published on both brands, so both the Inter Destroying Clubs, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff, as long with the SempreInter platforms as well. We'll be looking to record 2 episodes per week, with the release coming on a Tuesday and on a Friday as well. The Tuesday show will basically cover the review from the match that has passed on the weekend, with the Friday show being a match preview for the next Serie A fixture, while also reviewing any of the midweek fixtures or Champions League fixtures that we are very, very excited to be participating in. Another quick shout out to Raul from SempreInter, who's going to be the other face-on of the vlogs and the videos that we do. So now that we've introduced ourselves, let's jump right into it. We would have liked to bring you this episode with a little bit more optimism, but unfortunately I am recording this here in Australia after the result to Sassuolo on match day 1, which we will come back and talk about a little bit soon. We did plan on releasing these vlogs, or the first episode of this vlog, just before the season started, a few days before, in order to recap the season, the pre-season and the transfer market. So I will still spend a little bit of time doing that, but I will fly through the pre-season a lot quicker. So just going into that, we started off our pre-season with a match against Lugano where we won 3-0 against the Swiss side. We then lost to another Swiss side 2-0 before drawing to Zenit St. Petersburg 3-all. Sheffield United 1-1. Chelsea we lost on penalties 5-4 after drawing 1-1. We then went on to have 1-0 victories against Lyon and Atletico Madrid. The pros and cons from the preseason were very, very evident. We had many new players trying to be integrated into many different systems under manager Luciano Spalletti, and I think for the most part, most fans were fairly impressed with our pre-season. We were able to try a few different roles out for some players, with some players obviously performing and impressing a little more than others. I think Lautaro Martinez was quite possibly the biggest standout of our preseason. He was able to score 4 goals in 7 games, and most people were very impressed with his ability to bring the ball out of midfield or drop back a little bit and receive the ball in a more central position and be able to control the ball and distribute it more and link up well with Icardi and the wingers. He should continue to do very well for us this season, provided Spalletti can utilize him properly and not ask too much. It's very important to remember the kid's only 20 years old. We saw that he did struggle with the intensity of dropping back and picking up that ball against Sassuolo. So Spalletti's going to have to see a little bit just how well he can integrate El Toro, because he is going to be fundamental to us this season in terms of attacking. I think he has proved that he is not, you know, the 2.0 version of Gabigol. And I think that he will definitely bring a lot of versatile and uniqueness to our side. He's not only limited to scoring as well. As we've seen, he's able to pick the ball up and feed it through to Icardi. He actually possesses a few characteristics on the ball that Mauro Icardi significantly lacks. Kwadwo Samoa is probably the next biggest revelation of our transfer market, and he looks absolutely fantastic. He's a very tenacious player, knows how to distribute the ball well, but he's got so many great attributes on both offense and defense. So he will bring a certain element to our left back, left wing back position, some experience that I think we need desperately. I don't think Dalbert is ready to play full-time as a left back for us for 38 matches this season. He's just still looking like he's looking to find his feet, and even though he's made some improvements in the preseason and Spalletti has reoriented his faith in him, I think Dalbert is going to struggle a little bit more than Spalletti thinks, and he should not be a permanent solution there. Asamoah has already shown that he can play as a left defensive mid and as a defensive midfielder as well, so it wouldn't surprise me to see Spalletti utilise him a bit centrally, considering that we did not fulfill that last central mid signing that we were looking for in the Mercato. Raja Nainggolan was injured in the friendly against, I think it was the very first friendly, against Lugano. He picked up a hamstring injury or a quad injury, and he's been nursing that ever since. A lot of our fans have been a little bit fearful that we've picked up a crock, so to speak, or that he's not going to be able to play as many matches as he played for Roma under us. I'm here to say that I don't think all that is true. I think he started something like 34 matches for Roma last season and 32 the season before. So it would not surprise me at all to see that this is just precautionary. And because he has such a good relationship with manager Luciano Spalletti, I think Spalletti knows Raja better than anybody. And I think that this is all just precautionary. So, you know, yes, it's unfortunate that he missed the first game against Sassuolo, and we really, really did need him. We really, really did need him today. But as I said, I do think it's just Spalletti taking caution, and if he's not back by the next match, Torino, he'll definitely be back after that with 110% fitness. That brings us to the next segment. And which is going to be our Mercato review. So we were going to do an extra show or a separate show where we basically reviewed the Mercato in detail. But as we said, we were planning to release that a couple of days before the season started. Because we didn't get that video out, I am going to condense it just a little bit. Overall, Inter fans around the world were very, very happy with our Mercato. Some are calling it the best Mercato that we have had since the 09-10 treble-winning season under Mourinho, and I would have to agree. Basically, we've brought in 7 starting players, all of which who are going to be fundamental to our season. Raja Nainggolan came in from Roma for a total package of 38 million euros, which was a trade with Davide Santon valued at 9 million and Zaniolo for in between 5 to 6. Stefan De Vrij and Kwadwo Asamoah joined us from Lazio and Juventus, both on free transfers. Lautaro Martinez arrived from Argentine club Racing for a total package of 23 million euros, which is the official amount, and it is a great amount as well. We had a lot of help from Auxilio, Milito, and Zanetti in order to close that deal. That's a fee where, say, your clubs like Chelsea, Barcelona, Man City, Man United put money down, the club starts to ask for 35 or for 40. So it was really good that we had those connections, and we were able to nail down Lautaro Martinez before even solidifying our place in 4th to make the Champions League. So a lot of credit has to go to the directors at our club, Zanetti and Auxilio, and even Milito at Racing for helping us get that deal over the line. It's going to be great. Versalico, World Cup winning right back for Croatia. He had a great season under Simeone at Atletico Madrid. So much so that the fans were actually really, really upset to see him go. I was reading on the Atletico Madrid forums and on Facebook online, and I could not find one fan who was happy to see him leave. So I think that we did really well in nailing him down as well. Not only that, the terms and conditions of the Versalco and then the Keita Balde deal are fantastic. They are 6.5 million and 5 million loans, respectively, with options of 17.5 and 31 million for redemption. That's 17.5 for Versalico, and that's 31 million redemption for Keita Balde, which is a little bit expensive, the Keita fee. But if he does prove himself to us this season, going with how strong Suning and Zhang are at the moment financially, if we can just break out of financial fair play, then we won't have to worry about meeting any sort of obligations in terms of financial fair play, and we'll just be free to spend the club's profits, which in that sense will be very, very easy to spend the 17.5 million on Versalico, providing he proves to us that he is worthy, and the 31 million for Keita, providing he proves that he is worthy as well. In terms of our departures, I think it's important to mention that our departures were almost just as significant as our arrivals, and we really needed to clear up some space. We had been shackled by financial fair play now for a while, which not only means that we have to get rid of the dead wood, it means it was compulsory to balance the books out. So we were killing two birds with one stone here by getting some of these players off our books for financial fair play reasons and just because they were simply dead wood rotting in our squad. Most importantly, Jeffrey Kondogbia has gone to Valencia. How we've managed to keep 25 million from that deal, I do not know. But apparently we were still able to negotiate really well for that, so that's fine. Yuto Nagatomo to Galatasaray for 2.5 million. A true gentleman of the club, always a very easy target to make a scapegoat in our bad periods of time. But the fact that he was clapped at the airport and applauded by the Galatasaray fans, and the fact that he's been appreciated by the fans and will be coming back next season to them, and they love him and they want him back, that's great. I was very happy as an Inter fan to see him happy and accepted with those Turkish fans. Dodo, I don't know if anyone remembers, Brazilian fullback, winger, Sampdoria redeemed their obligation for 5.5 million for him. Eder was sold to Jiangsu in the Chinese Super League for 5 million. Biabiani continued his love affair with Parma for an undisclosed fee. I think that's something like 6 or 7 transfers between us and Parma for Biabiani altogether. Bizarre. And, of course, the devastating part was the loan returns of Rafinha to Barcelona and Cancelo to Valencia, which obviously led to the 40 million sale to Juventus. There was also Lisandro Lopez, who went back to Benfica and was then loaned out to Genoa. He only made 1 or 2 first-team appearances for us, though. So all in all, a huge mention has to go out to Auxilio, Zhang and co. Anyone who is working behind the scenes, really. Because when I analyze this Mercato in comparison to some of the disasters that we've had to endure over the last 7 or 8 years, you can see the differences from a mile away in terms of how we approach the negotiations or how we close the deals. The bargaining power that we have and that we hold. Our club is a desired location again now. The times of spending 40 million on the Jalmarios or 35 up front for Gabby goals, surely we don't have to go back to that, all those risks, and we will not be lowballed or backed into a corner by these other clubs anymore, because we are back on the map and we are looking to be a competitive side again with stature like we did in the past. Moving on to the Sampdoria fixture. Now, it's a tough one to speak about because in Australia, the match kicked off at 4:30 in the morning. It's currently 4:30 in the afternoon now, so after having the day at work to be able to comprehend the result and calm down a little bit, it offers a lot of perspective, not only for the players and the coaches and the staff, but for the fans as well. I think it's a very important time now after this 1-0 loss this morning to Sassuolo to reflect logically and rationally on the team's and board's expectations. Very easy to coast on the back of last season's final day victory against Lazio. When that header from Vecino went in, because that was our last competitive nature, our last thing that we did competitively last season, it really has kind of carried over to the preseason, and I think it was a big part of setting unrealistic expectations. You know, there was a lot of talk online about people saying, you know, are Inter ready for Scudetto, Inter da Scudetto? I really don't think we should be putting all these eggs into a basket. Last season we had one objective, to qualify for the Champions League, and I think we went about it in an incorrect manner. We really put it on a pedestal as the be-all and end-all of the modern-day Inter. Had we not qualified last season, I really fear to think about what the off-season would have been like, what the Mercato would have been like, and what the mood would have been like going into this season. But on the back of that dramatic last day and a really good Mercato, it didn't surprise me to see most of the Inter community all over the world up in arms and ready. Not just the Inter community, the Italian community, the media from other countries as well. They're putting us on the pedestal. Are Inter finally ready to challenge Juve? Are Inter the anti-Juve? Are Juve going to let their status slip this season to Inter? To be honest with you, the answer that we all want is yes. A more logical or a more rational objective for this season would be to re-qualify for the Champions League with significantly less drama than last season. We don't want to put ourselves in the corner where we are going into match day 37 or 38, still looking for points to qualify for the Champions League. I think the objective should be to push Juventus as far as we can possibly go. But the main objective and protocol for the season should be to re-qualify for the UEFA Champions League comfortably. We would like to see match day 32, 33, 34, somewhere around there, maybe Inter are playing a match in order to get into the Champions League. And that would be great. That would be great for me. That would be great for a lot of Inter fans because it would keep the books significantly going in an optimal direction. Suning, Zhang, they are financially looking after the club very, very well. It's just up to us to now do the business on the pitch. So that's the first thing that I would mention from the Sassuolo fixture would be that it should ground some of our players and ground a lot of the fans as well. Because otherwise we're just going to be in for a season of constant disappointment if we are putting ourselves on that Scudetto pedestal. I personally would just forget about it and just see how it goes week in, week out. And then we can develop more and more realistic expectations. In terms of Sassuolo, knowing the opposition, 2 losses last season, 1-0, 1-2 at home, with the 1-2 almost ending our season. A far cry from the 2 7-0 thrashings we dished out to them when they were promoted up from Serie B. That seems like a whole universe ago now, even though I'm pretty sure we ended up smacking them 7-0 with the likes of Guarin, Alvarez, maybe even Kuzmanovic, Gargano. I don't know who was in that team. Yeah, it didn't go very well last season against Sassuolo. They've continued to be our bogey team into this season. Last season they had a decent season, Sassuolo. They finished 11th in the Serie A with 43 points, 11 wins, 10 draws and 17 losses. And they did come into this season with a few new recruits. Kevin Prince Boateng arrived from Frankfurt for an undisclosed fee. And he was actually pretty good today. He was creating many problems for us. He was a downright pest. And yeah, I think Inter really failed to deal with not only him, but with Berardi and with a couple of other threats as well. In terms of how the match went for our players, we went down to a very soft penalty conceded by Miranda. Despite having a shout of our own, Asamoah went down in very similar fashion. Obviously, subjectively and biasly, I would say it's just as much of a penalty as the one on Miranda, if not more. But it hasn't gone our way, and I'm definitely not in a position where I'm looking to blame any of the officials. I'm not even looking at blaming the Farmers pitch, even though it was a horrible pitch to play on. So many times our midfield would pick up the ball, and players like Brozovic, who are usually able to make really, really great straight line passes, they're passing the ball on the flat surface and it's just skipping and bouncing along. You know, I'm a very skeptical kind of person, so something does tell me Sassuolo have trained on pitches like this and they've done this a little bit intentionally. But once again, it's no excuse for the way we've played. We lined up in Spalletti's favourite 4-2-3-1 with Handanovic at goalkeeper, Dalbert on the left, Danilo D'Ambrosio on the right, which was the biggest red flag on our starting 11 in my opinion, not seeing Vasaiko there and seeing that I had to watch D'Ambrosio again. He's an okay substitute, he's an okay alternative, but I really think he offers nothing defensively. In terms of going into one-on-one challenges, he gets beaten 9 times out of 10. So seeing D'Ambrosio on the lineup again was the first little hint of mediocrity of today's season opener. Miranda and Stefan De Vrij. De Vrij, I think, had a decent match. I think he was probably the best defender that we had. He did the basics right. He was always in the right place at the right time. He didn't look for a second that he was going to make an accident or make a mistake. And he was very close to grabbing that that equaliser at the end. Matias Vecino partnered Marcelo Brozovic in centre mid, which was another red flag for me. He goes missing in major chunks of the game. He's got poor ball control. I don't think he offers anything going forward. To say he has to do better, I think it's an unrealistic statement. I think Matias Vecino is giving us 100%. I just think plain and simply he's not good enough. And partnering him up with Brozovic is another no-go in my opinion, because Brozovic is someone who works at his best when he has someone technical with him, when he has someone who can also take the reins of distribution and creative play. And while Gagliardini is not a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10 player in that department, he offers a lot more in my opinion than Matias Vecino does. So I would have technically started Gagliardini there. Hopefully when Nainggolan is fit again, we won't even have to deal with Vecino as a midfield. Brozovic looked a little hungover from the World Cup. Fitness is not really an issue, but he just didn't look at home tonight on that poor pitch. But you could see he was angry with himself. He wasn't happy, almost gobsmacked at how poorly he was performing. And I think after a little bit of reflection, he'll be okay. Asamoah was probably our best player on the night. I really enjoy the way that he doesn't look for the cross as the first option. He decides to run the ball either around the player on the left or cut in on the right. And he's actually got decent control on his right foot as well. That was a huge positive. Matteo Politano lined up on the right wing with Asamoah on the left. Asamoah, again, probably I wouldn't have played as up high, but the formation is deceiving. He did actually kind of play more as a left back than as a left winger, but he did push up a lot as well. Politano wasn't great. I think he worked really hard. I think he tried really hard, but ultimately in the end, he it was very Kandreva-like, his performance a little bit. I have no doubt that he's going to improve. I think he's a player that offers a fair bit of pace and a fair bit of versatility, so I'm not too worried about Politano integrating himself in. Martinez, maybe the hype got to him, maybe it didn't, but he was shut down so well, most notably by our player, Duncan. Well, not our player anymore, but he just never got any breathing space on the ball, and I'm not too sure if playing him as an attacking midfielder so deep is the right position for him. He is a centre forward, a striker, or a second striker, and I think when Nainggolan is fit again, we should do everything we can to play to the strengths of Lautaro Martinez and not ask him to perform duties that maybe he never had to perform in Argentina. Because if you're asking a 20-year-old who has only played in the Argentine league to come to Italy and start performing technical things or technical acts in the centre midfield when they've been a forward their whole life, it doesn't matter how talented they are, doesn't matter what the hype is, they are not going to play as well as they can play, and then it's going to hinder their confidence as well. Icardi, he doesn't like this ground, that's for sure, but he did very well. He did what he had to do today. I could have done a bit better on his 2 shots, but I'm not here to bash Icardi today. I just don't think the service was there, to be honest. There was one chance, though, where he really probably should have buried it. Cross came in pretty fast, but I still think he should have scored. Our substitutions did offer some light. I think Perisic brought some instant impact to the ground, but even after a while, he looked a little bit like lethargic and just kind of threw in the towel. I think Keita showed us what he can do, but throwing him on for that limited amount, trailing 1-0, it's obvious that he is going to try and do more things himself. Same with Caramo when he came on. You know, subbing these players on with such little time left and trying to make it as though the whole game kind of falls on them, it's not necessarily the right approach. I don't think Caramo can do much with 4.5 minutes. Overall, the performance, it was very, very typical Inter. Very, very Pazza Inter, with the inferior side of Pazza Inter being shown today. We're really hoping, and we're going to have to turn it around. There's no excuse. We're going to have to turn it around against Torino next week in front of 60,000 screaming fans at the Meazza. It's a great place to do it. No better place for us to do it, in fact. So I'm pretty confident we can get back into there, get ourselves our first 3 points of the season. So just to conclude our first Inter Talk vlog, guys, we'll be looking to add segments, I guess, as the show goes on. But as today being a pilot, there's only so much that we can cover in the first edition. But we'll be looking to add a few more segments and, most importantly, get you guys involved the most. So when this video goes up, please check the sidebar and please check all the links, and you'll be able to find hyperlinks to all of our social media platforms, both individually and branded, and that'll pretty much be it. So thank you guys heaps for watching. Thank you for tuning in. We hope that you guys are going to spend a lot of time enjoying these vlogs and interacting and commenting, emailing in. We'd love to get as many people's opinions voiced as possible, and who knows, maybe even get a few people to come on and speak as well. So we're looking forward to the new season, and as always, Forza Inter.